Hello Nippies, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi, hello, I'm Nips, a freelance artist, and today we are going to be redrawing a very special and dear to my heart doodle from 2014 of a Jinx from Arcane and Human Ziggs, both from League of Legends universe, and we're going to be using exclusively the TourBox apparatus, no keyboard, which is one of our sponsors. For today, we're going to be unboxing it. We're going to be seeing everything that it comes with. We're going to be setting up all the keyboard shortcuts, all the buttons. It's basically kind of like a joystick, and it's really cool concept. So I'm really excited to give it a go and a run. So if that's something you want to watch, stick around. And for our second sponsor of the day, we're going to be using the Artis 15.6 Pro XP Pen Tablet. And for that one, we have already done an unboxing on this channel. So if you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the top right, a card, and also in the description down below if you want to give that a go, and then come back here or vice versa. So yeah, stick around. So let's finally get to opening this up. I've got the TourBox Elite. They also have the TourBox Neo. And the only real difference is that the Elite is Bluetooth. So if you don't want to deal with a bunch of cables everywhere, definitely get this one. And also has the cool added feature that you can control two devices at the same time. So if you have a Windows and a Mac PC, simultaneous usage. And of course, it's got some upgraded chips and components, but the works. The boxing comes with our quick start guide, safety instructions, and of course the help center paper. Now it comes with the QR code, social media, and email addresses, which I thought was really cool, all very efficiently and really nicely organized. So really appreciate that. We get finally to our TourBox, and let me tell you, this product is pretty weighty. It doesn't weigh a lot, like it's not going to be, you're not gonna get an arm day out of this one, but it's just enough that you can feel the quality. The buttons are all incredible. If you play video games and you look at these, you can probably imagine exactly how they sound and feel. We'll do a little section for you guys to hear each of the, oh, and there's Peepa, my little baby Peepa, making her first appearance on this channel. She does not come with the TourBox Elite, but everybody say hi. Hi, Peepa. Hi. But yeah, so you guys can hear all the buttons and what they sound like. Comes with the batteries on and off button and the Bluetooth connection if you guys are going to get the Elite. And of course, here's our USB cable, very standard USB-C, good distance, and it's got the horizontal top connector of the USB-C when you connect it directly to the TourBox, which I really appreciate. If there's anybody that uses almost any sort of device, you'll know that having the USB cable just sticking out constantly can make you bend the end of the cable and just ruin and destroy your product. So just a very small detail that goes a long way. Before I show you the sounds of the TourBox buttons, I will say that I didn't know beforehand, but when you plug it in, you get to choose how hard or soft they sound, or whether they sound at all. So once you guys hear this, you'll see that some of the rotating wheels and stuff don't sound, and later I discovered that you can actually make them make sounds. So there is actually more to it than these, but hopefully you can enjoy these sounds. So now that you guys know a little bit more about the TourBox, I've seen and heard a little bit of the buttons, I wanted to go over very quickly the program that it comes with. Now, this program is just very nicely and efficiently laid out and very intuitive to use. You've got on the left a list of default programs that the program already has shortcuts set up for, but you can add more. And of course, you can go in and create your own keyboard shortcuts. Now, of course, I would highly recommend that you use this to its full potential and set up your own keyboard shortcuts, because only you know you best. And really, the the power of this device really comes from using it to customize it to your abilities and your preferences as much as you can. All right, so I'm gonna go over these TourBox settings now. And of course, if you don't wanna stick through this, I'm gonna go ahead and put a timestamp on the bar that you can skip so you can get right to the drawing process if you wanted to. See you later. I really wanted to just cover a little bit of the controls and the way I configured them. In case you guys were interested, this took me so many hours because I had to go through basically everything that I typically use and basically make note of it and then find ways to optimize the control so that I can fit everything that I needed in the easiest way possible, most efficient, so that I could also learn it pretty quickly because I had to basically configure it, learn it, and then use it in a drawing today on the go, which made it kind of difficult because I was still adjusting, and so while I was drawing, my flow was kind of broken. So here I'll show you guys more or less, and I think you can export these settings. I'll see if I can export the files, and that way if you guys are interested in using my presets, you can go ahead and get the link down below. So what I decided to do is keep this middle knob as whatever I was going to use pretty much the most, which was going to be, I'm gonna see if I can scoot this over here. Maybe we can get a nice like view kind of the screen, and maybe we can alt tab. So you'll see that we have our zoom, our fit on screen with the press, and then we've got our layer blending mode and layer opacity with these two keys here mixed in with this, and then our switch layers and our rotate canvas with the side. Now, the basic thing with this is that you have these buttons, the side, top, and these two here that are basically already defaulted. I left these that way. This is Control, Shift, Alt, and space, and so this ended up coming in really useful when I had to Control T, Control F, or even when I Control T'd and you want to like move stuff around, use Shift to select more things, or even escape. I set this one to escape here. So a lot of these things came in handy later, not just as actual keyboard shortcuts, but just being able to use your already existing keyboard shortcuts. So that was pretty good. So this one was my most used button. This side one was very, very useful because it almost feels like you're holding a mouse. So my default position was kind of like this. This is basically how I used it, and everything else is kind of, this is how I centered my hand on the control here. So you'll see here that we've got our zoom, we've got our rotate. And so here I really wanted a way to reset my view. So you see here, Alt, I can go ahead and just move this over here so you guys can see a little bit better. So rotate, and so I had escape, this is 2, so I could reset there. And I think this is much easier to do after, I'm filming this after I've already completed this piece, as you can see. So it's a lot easier to explain this now that I've already spent a couple hours using it. And then we've got our, go ahead and fit to screen. Sometimes I just need to reset. There's too many things I've been doing, so it's just easy to just quickly press and do that. Then you'll see here on the side, you can swap the layers. Now, I don't know how to fix this, but if you have a hidden layer, you'll see here, it'll just skip it. So you see how it skips from here to here. No idea how to fix that, but I eventually had to click on these manually because I didn't know how to fix them. And then here we have our layer setting. I use these pretty often, so God damn it. I use these pretty often, so I decided to put that there as well. So we have our kind of frequent layer properties there, and just our general moving around. Then the next one was this here. So I decided to make this little scroll mouse. It's kind of like the middle of your mouse scrolling. I decided to make that my brush area. So I figured it would be easier to divide this controller into sections because it would be the easiest way for me to learn it and to kind of keep it in the back of my mind. So this was basically like my canvas and then certain layer aspects, because you'll see later there's too many layer aspects. So I had to kind of divide it into some here. And then this, almost everything that has to do with the brush is here. So my scroll is basic, decrease, increase brush size, pretty good, pretty straightforward. Our press is the gradient map. Now I use this pretty often, but as I played with this, I didn't really use it that much, so I might swap the press to something else. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see. Then we have our brush mode. I use this quite often, so if you want your brush to be color burn, multiply, you just go ahead, click this, scroll. Then we have our opacity, which is this and this together. And then this and this together is this and this is the brush mode. This is swapping the brush. Sorry, I went backwards. So this here, sometimes I get this symbol and this symbol confused here, but yeah, so we have, this is our brush, changing the different brushes, because sometimes I don't want to go and click the brush. So this is pretty good. I have a keyboard shortcut for that, so I decided to include it. And then this one is our brush mode. And then this is our brush opacity. There are some things that I didn't quite change, so I didn't quite use, so I might go back and change it. Brush flow is something that I use quite a bit. I just remembered here, I use this command. This is brush tool, so I use this here very, very often. I don't know what it's called, but I have the letter V hotkey to this. This is a tool I really like to use. It makes the brush kind of softer, more transparent. I'm not even sure. If somebody knows what this tool is, let me know. So before I forget, I might actually adjust this to that. It's not called this because I replaced this, but I'm gonna do that there before I forget, because yeah. So it felt really good. You'll see here we've got our increase brush. We've got changing the brushes. You'll see here doing this. We've got our flow up here. I love this tool here. Then we have our brush blending mode. This one got kind of glitchy sometimes. I'm not quite sure what I was doing, but it wouldn't go to certain modes, so I had to click it manually sometimes. And then here you have our opacity. This one I didn't use very often because I usually use flow instead of opacity, but yeah. Then going back here, the dial is one that I didn't use that much. This one is just adjust selected parameters. So just in case I wanted to change something that I didn't have, like for example here, right? Like you could do this and it'll adjust whatever you're working with here. So I could literally just go into, if I really wanted to do it like this, instead of pressing I could just click here and it would just do it that way instead. So it felt really nice. And then if I wanted to crop, wait, did I change that? I don't know why it's not letting me crop now. Oh, there we go, yeah. So I set it to crop there. Then our next one we have, I already explained. And then our double clicks. So we have escape. This one, it just felt like, since it was so in the center, I felt like it just made sense to have enter here. So it's very very basic kind of important key. So I put it here in the center. Then we have these. So I'm not going to explain these now because the reason that they're here is kind of down here. So yeah, this is a lot of settings, pretty overwhelming, but I'll get to those in a second. So yeah, so we'll do these first. So switch foreground background colors. This one I barely used, so I barely even remembered this one. Then we have our free transform. This one just felt like a Control T and Control F. So I just this one felt really natural. It's just, oh, boop. And then we had our enter, of course, and then our control if you wanted to do something while you were controlling and doing all of that. Then we have our hue saturation curves. I use these a lot, so I had to put these on the controls. We had these two, and you'll see that I tried to group them. So we have Control F, Control T, Control F, and then here we have hue and curves. So I always try to group them so that I don't get too lost on what I'm doing. And then we have our delete here. Kind of like singled it out, just delete here. Then we have Alt F4 to just, this one button here just closes the whole program. Felt like it's very, I was gonna set this one to undo or something, but I decided to just have it like the just break everything, close everything button. So then we have this. Now the program does have where you can show an on-screen reference, which I don't actually know how to open again, but it'll show the cross here for you. I have no idea how to open it again, but yeah, just in case you want to have a guide on this sort of thing, because you can program these to a lot in the middle. So I decided to go with very, very rudimentary, fundamental ones for this. So we have our up is our brush, our down is our eraser. Then we have undo, redo. Very basic. I wanted to keep these simple. Here we have our layer button, right? So I grouped this with all the layers. So you'll see here we have new layer, group layers, merge layer, and add layer mask. I did add layer mask because I use this quite a bit. So it was really nice because you also have the enter, right? You have this here, then you enter, make new layer, enter, group, and then you can move this way with the layer. So you'll see that this is still tied to the layer this way, you know? Then we have more of these. So what I did with this one is I still tried to tie it to the canvas. A lot of this here is like, I want to say like very, very fundamental things. So here I use flip canvas and flip layer a lot. So if I want to flip the whole thing, or if I want to flip just the layer, I have this flip canvas, flip layer. Now the reason I have it like that is because on my basic keyboard preferences I have F4 and F5 for that, so it's just natural for me to have them next to each other in that same order. So you really have to get to know your own keyboard preferences for this, so just try and translate as best you can what you use to this. How you use this is going to be really dependent on how you like to set up your keyboard bindings and how you use everything as far as your flow and everything goes. So this is very, very highly customizable, and I can tell I'm going to keep messing with it more and more. But yeah, and so continuing on that, the up and down I figured would be things are also very crucial. The visibility up here and locking the transparency. So very, very crucial to working. Now here, I wanted to set some very like, they're kind of off to the side. So I wanted to use these as like, same way as the undo redo. So we have save and save as is how I have these two. By itself, very, very straightforward. Now here comes these. This is what I wanted to touch on. So this one combined with this. So here we have our copy functions, right? So we have copy and paste. So these two together copy, these two together paste. And the double click here is paste in place. That, you know, in Photoshop doesn't really do that really well. When you just Control V, it just kind of pastes wherever it wants. So this is paste in place twice. So you'll see here, paste in place. And this one is deselect, and you'll see why. Because here I have the lasso tool. Then here I have Control A, select everything. And then if you press twice here, it deselects. So that is how I have everything set. It's felt really, really great. Definitely the more you use it, the more I realize, oh, I didn't really use this. Maybe we should change it. Kind of keep optimizing and stuff. I absolutely love this. I really can't wait to use it more. I do think this is going to be an integral part of how I work with art now. The learning curve is pretty high because you're essentially learning how to use an entirely new tool. I had to remind myself that that's what was happening. So I got a little discouraged at the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it is very, very nifty. So if you made it through all of this, congrats. If not, probably doesn't matter what I'm going to say here, but on to the actual drawing and experience and process. So let's actually get to it. All right, and finally to the drawing portion of this video. So You'll see that I left the camera, the TourBox cam over there on the bottom right. I've made it smaller as the video goes on because I noticed that it was taking a little bit too much of the screen. And also you'll see that the lighting changes here and there because of daylight, focus and exposure. So I am so sorry if it is distracting at any point, and I think there are some points where the light is even like too dark to even see anything, but I did my best. It's there. I'm so sorry that I didn't catch some of these things earlier, but I really wanted to leave it there because I wanted you guys to see in real time what it was like to handle the TourBox. And putting it as a speed paint, I think, didn't really do the device enough justice because you won't be able to see my hesitations and my reservations and my kind of adjustment period with a speed paint. And I think the biggest thing with these devices is the steep learning curve. Because of the high customization of these devices, it's very easy to get quickly demoralized because you have so much adjusting to do. And if you've been drawing as long as I have, because, you know, art boomer, having drawn with a tablet for like 10 plus years and then having to switch, not with the tablet, sorry, using a keyboard and a tablet for 10 plus years and then swapping to only a TourBox, no keyboard. I didn't touch the keyboard drawing this, doing this piece. I think I touched it once by accident. Let me correct myself. I think I touched it once by accident. But otherwise, the entire time it was only the TourBox. And there were a few things that I had to do differently because I refused to touch the keyboard. There were some keyboard shortcuts that I forgot here and there. So I had to find like a roundabout way to do it. And so one of them was the control shift C, which is basically the copy all. Basically copies all the layers that you have visible. And I didn't have that, so you'll see, I think at some points that I'll have to like merge everything, copy it, unmerge it, and then paste it, because I really didn't want to cheat. So, but yeah. And I think at the beginning when I started, not only did it take me around 2 to 5 hours to set up everything, the setting up itself was already exhausting. And obviously this is at no fault of the TourBox. It was just how setting up such a complex device goes. But I was just very scared. The more that I messed with it and the more that I like got myself ready to start using it, I got more and more scared because you just get used to it and you sometimes just forget how certain things become part of your routine and how used to them you are until you just change that one key tool and then start using something completely different. So the setting up was already exhausting, trying to find, I made a note, like a post-it note, basically, of all the things that I need to make sure that I add to the TourBox. Things like, you know, the Control T, Control F, undo, redo, new layer, merge layer, group layers, rotate the canvas, zoom in, reset, increase brush, decrease brush, next brush, previous brush, all of these things. And I would highly recommend that you do that. If I didn't already say that in the previous part, I'm going to re-emphasize here. I highly recommend, if you are somebody that does digital art and you have your own personal shortcuts, I highly recommend you writing down a list of all the basic shortcuts and all of your own personal shortcuts, and then all the ones that you use the most, if they're common or not. And that really helped turn the TourBox into not just a regular TourBox, but my TourBox. What it felt like for me to use it. What's it like for me, my personalized device. And these sorts of devices that have such high customization rates really just feel like that. They're as powerful as you make them to be. And so As I started, you'll see there's like a lot of hesitation in my movements and usage of the TourBox. There's a lot of like pauses. I had to look down several times. On the left, I have two monitors, one of them being my tablet and the other one on the left being my laptop screen. And on that screen, I had the TourBox program open. Just in case I forgot any of my keyboard shortcuts, I could go over to that desktop, to that monitor, and just check what it was, because I just couldn't remember some of the shortcuts and some of the combinations, and it was a little bit difficult, to say the least, as I was drawing, to continuously break my flow and check which keyboard shortcut was where, and to know, do I have a keyboard shortcut for this period? And this specific video, I wanted to challenge myself to not just use the TourBox, but use it exclusively. I really wanted to feel the usage of the product that I was trying. I didn't want to just like partly use it, I wanted to use it by itself. And because of that, I felt an incredible breakage in my flow, which of course I don't attribute to the TourBox itself. Of course, you're learning something new, you're trying something new, and you're diving in it head first. And so that was a huge struggle for me to kind of just continuously break that flow, that momentum, in order to just continue to use the product. And one of the things that I also challenged myself to do was, if I had a command for the action that I wanted to do in the TourBox, I would not click it on the screen. And I think this one was a little bit harder because sometimes I did it without realizing it. But for the most part, if I had a command for it on my screen, I made sure to not use it on the screen. I would only use it on the TourBox. So things like select layer. I had a shortcut that I could scroll through my layers and select it. That one was a little bit iffy because the select layer wouldn't go to the layers that were hidden. So that one I kind of had to break the rules a little bit and just click it with my tablet pen, because it was not letting me hover over the invisible layers. So, but the more I used it, the more I realized, you know, maybe this shortcut we're gonna have to change. I left them all the same for the duration of this drawing, so as to just get used to it. And then after the drawing, I think the TourBox is definitely something that I'm going to be making a regular part of my routine. I absolutely loved it. It was just the hands to eye, how do I even say that? The amount of times that I had to look at my hands was reduced by an incredible amount. And unless you're somebody that's very good at using the keyboard without looking, not just for typing, but for keyboard shortcuts, because I can type pretty well without looking at the keyboard, but for some reason keyboard shortcuts is not as easy to do without looking at the keyboard. And even with how new the TourBox was, I noticed that I didn't even have to look at the TourBox that often. What I ended up really looking at was the program to just remember the keyboard shortcuts, but otherwise, it felt so good to draw and not have to look at my keyboard to break, you know, my flow, at least in that regard, or break my focus, which is one of the things that I always really hated about the keyboard was like, okay, where is my flip the canvas? Where is my pace? Where is my this? Where's my that? And maybe this is not a problem you have, obviously, like I said earlier, if you're just somebody that uses the keyboard really well. So, but I will say that was a huge plus, and I really enjoyed that. Something that I look forward to experiencing more as I continue to use the TourBox. But yeah, and the more that this drawing went on, I kept getting really comfortable with the TourBox, but I was still pretty disillusioned with how different my art felt in comparison to how I normally draw. And I think I mentioned it earlier, the learning curve, the steep learning curve, and how kind of demotivating it feels to draw so different from what you're used to. I tried to tell myself it is 10 plus years that I have spent drawing with a keyboard, so breaking that, I cannot expect to draw how I normally draw right off the bat. And that is basically what I was trying to tell myself through the duration of this video, because it was very demoralizing. And this specific drawing was a huge drawing for me back in 2014. I absolutely loved it. It was one of my like defining doodles, and a lot of people knew me for it. And so when I was coming up with an idea for this video, I really wanted to kind of just give one of my old drawings a shot. And when I saw this one, I was like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. And I didn't have enough time, obviously, to make this a full-fledged rendered illustration. So I only had enough time to make a semi-refined sketch for this video, which is kind of nice because the original drawing is also a doodle slash sketch. But yeah, it was very hard to reconcile with the fact that I'm already demoralized from using a new tool and having to learn it. But then on top of that, I'm redrawing something that I did almost a decade ago, and it's not coming out as nice as I would like it to because of this as well. So I'm fighting several forces here, and it's really doing a number on my self-esteem and my confidence. So if there's anything that really struggled here, was my confidence, my self-esteem, my self-worth was really taking a hit. But I really tried to push through and remind myself of all the things that I already said. And towards the end, I really, really love how this drawing came out. It was an absolute pleasure to revisit the vibe and the feel of this drawing. I absolutely love Jinx as a character. Random plug, if you haven't seen it, go watch Arcane. It's great. If you play League of Legends, if you know the universe of League of Legends, you'll already know these characters. Human Ziggs, I always loved Ziggs as a character, and I always thought they would be really cool friends, and I just wanted to make a human Ziggs and make them kind of hang out and go on this really cute explosive date. And it was just really fun to recreate that fun, spunky, explosive air almost a decade later. So the other thing that I will say with this drawing, though, is I was really struggling with the colors. Now, the color calibration, I'm not very good at handling, and you'll see here, which is why I'm kind of going back and forth between the original drawing and this one, is that there's something off in the colors. I couldn't get them to look as pink as they looked on my screen. I kept moving this drawing from my main tablet monitor to my laptop monitor, and one of them looked more pink and light, and then my laptop monitor, which I think is the accurate one, looks orange and super saturated and very, very dark. And so I started to get even more demoralized on that front because I had stopped filming several times in order to fix the colors, and I really couldn't get them to work. And so I was kind of frustrated, and I decided to just accept the fact that the colors just might not be that great. And so once you see the finished picture, if the colors are slightly too saturated and dark or slightly off, that is why. I gave up trying to calibrate them and trying to fix them to match. So, but I think that was just more on my end, not knowing how to get these settings to really function on the screen. So that is one thing that I was really struggling with this drawing. But otherwise, I really, really enjoyed the TourBox as a product. I always get very, very lucky with the partners that I end up with for my sponsorships. I love all of their products so much. The TourBox was something that I had wanted to try for a while. I always saw it, and I had gotten several emails from it before, but I had never really entertained the idea of actually finally giving it a go. And I decided this time, you know what? I have really been wanting it to try it. Let's finally jump on it and see what this is about. And I'm so glad that I did. And so glad that I did with them and with XPPEN as well, which I already mentioned. I already reviewed their tablet, the 15.6 Pro, on another video if you want to check that out again. And their partnership together is just a really cool thing, and I'm very grateful that they decided to work with me. So right now they have kind of a sale that you can get like a bundle of both of them together if you're interested in not just acquiring the TourBox, but also acquiring a tablet. I talked about how the XPPEN tablet was, I had never tried it before, and it was just so much better than I thought it was going to be. I had used the same tablet my whole life, basically, or the same tablet brand my whole life, and finally being able to try out the XPPEN was just incredible. So yeah, if you're happen to be looking for a tablet and really want to give the TourBox a go after watching this video, all the links, of course, of both the tablet and the TourBox will be down below if you want to check them out. But by the end of this video and by the end of this drawing, not by the end of the video, technically, by the end of the by the end of the drawing, I really did fall in love with the TourBox. It's just the quality of the product, the weight, the buttons, the customization, the responsiveness, the feel of everything is just honestly incredible, jaw-dropping. And for each one of the keyboard shortcuts, you're able to set, you know, how hard the noise is, whether it has noise at all, the speed, everything. And it just felt like if you're somebody who needs, who has never even used like a fidget apparatus or device of any kind, this also kind of doubles as that. It felt really satisfying to click and spin like all the buttons and the wheels. So that is kind of a strange and random side benefit of the TourBox if you're one of those people that really enjoys that, because I know I did. Just clicking the buttons is like very satisfying. So yeah, it was honestly an incredible experience. I really, really enjoyed the product, and like I said earlier, I'm gonna probably make it a regular addition to my artistic process. And I'm really happy with how the drawing came out. It would be interesting to redraw it maybe without the TourBox and see what difference it would make. But otherwise, this is the product that I have for now. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know I've been doing a lot of sponsored videos lately, but I am very grateful that I've been getting to work with some really cool companies and some really cool products. So hopefully you guys don't mind too much. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe, join the Nippy family. The more, the merrier. And I will put all the collaboration links down below. The finished product, the drawing, I'll put the TourBox links, the XPPEN links, and everything if you want to check them out. And thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next video. Bye.